The First Berserker Khazan is a game I've been excited about since it was first announced, and now that the demo is finally here, I, like many others, dove right in. Now I can honestly say, I'm having a blast. Is it perfect, however? Well, I want to be transparent. No. And we will get to that in just a bit, but it's still been a really nice surprise. Alright, if you do enjoy this video, do me a favour, subscribe, like it, all that jazz, and if you've played it, let me know what you think in the comments. Now, let's jump in. So first off, for those who might not know, the First Berserker Khazan is a spin-off from the Dungeon and Fighter games. Now Khazan is actually a boss and summon from the DNF universe. As for the story, it's set 800 years before the offense of DNF on the continent of Arad. You're diving into the untold story of Khazan, the First Berserker, and yeah, you'll basically experience his legendary journey firsthand. Now the setup in the 89th year of the Pal Lost Empire, Khazan, a great general, is falsely accused of treason and banished to the snowy mountains. After narrowly escaping death, he embarks on a quest for vengeance, uncovering conspiracies, mastering lost combat skills, and ultimately revealing the truth about this empire. Now, as for what we do see in the demo, Khazan's been imprisoned, as I said, for treason. He is on his way to that exclusion, when suddenly our convoy is attacked. It is brutal right from the start. Our arms and legs, tendons have been severed. But here's where it gets interesting. A demon of some sort attacks the troops transporting us, inhabits our body, and repairs that damage. Now the story is still unfolding at this point, so it hasn't given too much away just yet, but I'm really enjoying what is the internal dialogue, the back and forth between Khazan and the demon fighting for control, and yeah, I think it's fair to say it's definitely got me hooked. So gameplay, and yeah, for many this is definitely a Souls-like. It's marketed as a hardcore action RPG, and honestly, couldn't agree more. The game is brutal from the very first moment, which I actually appreciate. It's one of those games where you learn by dying, and if that's not for you, I'd say definitely do not come here. Now I've played all of the core Souls games, and even this one still managed to hand me my ass more than a few times. The first boss encounter in particular gave me that sweet feeling of achievement, until I was hit on completion, overcoming them with an option screen asking me if I wanted to play on easy or normal mode. That's when I felt that kind of familiar, diminishing sense of worth that only a Souls-like can give. Now I call this a Souls-like because of the combat. It evolves quickly, and it's all based around a stamina meter. You've got light attacks, heavy attacks, and charge attacks, and enemies, they're just as vulnerable to stamina issues as you are. You drain their stamina, and you actually get the chance to land a devastating finish move. Now that said, doesn't usually take them out completely unless they are those basic grunts. What really impressed me in the demo though is the constant evolution of the combat. And this is just the beginning of the game, let's face it, but in the first hour and a half or so, you'll learn how to parry, deliver counters, unlock 3 core weapon types, and master the dodge mechanic. Now if that's timed right, it does give you invincibility frames. Even early on, I want to point out as well that the first few enemies can easily wipe the floor with you if you're not careful. No encounter felt like a simple hack and slash. Every fight kept me on my toes. Now, like many Souls-likes, the First Berserker Khazan is a constant strategic battle of pushing forward while hoping you find the next save point, or in this case, swords. Basically bonfires. But these swords, they act as checkpoints, and you can reconstruct them to unlock a number of benefits. So they give health back, basically, they restore your life, they will regenerate your health flasks, and finally they do regenerate all enemies, standard for the genre. On top of this, however, they also give you the chance to use the game's equivalent of souls to level up various stats. Now I personally focused on health, stamina and strength, but you can build the character you want. But here for me is where it gets really exciting, the progression. As you level up, you earn skill points, which unlock new moves. Even after just an hour, I felt like a bit of a badass, pulling off some seriously impressive moves. You'll get multiple skill trees, in fact, some character specific, and others based on your weapon choice. So far, I've had a massive sword, slow but lethal, a staff that lets me hold enemies back, and a twin blade setup for speed, which is my personal favourite. By the end of the demo, I was launching myself into the air with what can only be described as a tornado attack. What I find really interesting about the combat, however, is how it encourages you to use all of these weapons. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation, and I really appreciate that. I also love the fact that you can refund these skill points and redistribute them elsewhere. It gives you the freedom to experiment, which I think's always a nice touch. On top of the core skills, then you've also got items and gear. Now gear comes from enemies and chests, and there are several armor slots to make use of. Plus you've got items that you can quickly switch between using the D-pad. So think stuff like setting your blades on fire, throwing bombs, and a few other things that transparently haven't quite figured out yet. You can also heal by pressing up on the D-pad, and early on you will get free uses of that. And you'll definitely need those heals, especially in the first 2 boss encounters that you will face. But one thing I really liked is the fact that the game constantly rewards you for fighting the same boss and failing each time. The game basically gives you what we'll call here XP, meaning that if, like me, you fail at a boss a few times, you're still getting rewarded. Your character keeps growing. It's a really nice touch in my opinion. It encourages you to keep pushing even when you're not winning. And naturally, I will add here, like other Souls-likes, when you die, you'll need to get back to your location to collect your experience points, you know, kind of a standard feature of the genre. But yeah, I think that works here, and I think that constant progression with the character, even on failure, really nice touch. Now, how does this differ from many other Souls-likes? Well, the early stages feel pretty linear. I'm sure things will open up later, but for now, there's not much in the way of backtracking. In fact, I only found 2 shortcuts, one ladder, one carriage. They both lowered to create that path. Most of the time, branching pathways here led to dead ends, but they weren't totally useless. I'd usually find some goodies or story beats along the journey. Basically, you're uncovering things like the souls of the dead enemies or characters with their own tales to tell. And this is thanks to the demon inhabiting your body. I haven't met too many characters that are like alive at this point, I guess. But yeah, and that may change as the game goes on. But I really kind of like that style so far. It's kind of like this soul journey. A constant sense of forward progression again. It's keeping things moving forward. Definitely enjoying the pace. And yeah, definitely an interesting take. Now though, my issues with the demo so far. And look, not many honestly. The combat is solid. It's bloody difficult, but it feels fair. Never did I feel like I lost due to a game issue. The enemies are generally tough, but I think well balanced with my early leveling. And the world, which so far has been an ice-scape for now, it's intriguing. Also, of course, the story, it's got me interested too. However, there are a few personal gripes, and yes, many of these could change in the final release. So first, enemy attack patterns have felt a bit repetitive. The first boss, for example, borrows heavily from other enemies in the game, but of course, with more damage. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's teaching you the ropes, but I did pick up on this very quickly. Then there's a location that feels unfair. The ice cracks beneath your feet, leading to an instant death. It's definitely a learn by dying moment, but it's kind of frustrating because it feels like there's, you know, no skill involved. There's just a very quick sound cue. It's just kind of, I guess, oh shit, I need to watch out for that next time I come on this path. Bonfire placement then, we'll call it that for now, wasn't perfect either. I appreciate the challenge, but a couple of them felt cheap, especially in the lead up to that first boss or, you know, sub-boss locations. Basically, you'll often face a few enemies that kind of chip away at your health meter. It'd be nice if they could have just placed these a little bit closer. Finally, loot drops. While enemies do drop a lot of goodies, mainly armor and equipment, feels a little random right now. The first boss handed me my ass, but after farming a location for a couple of runs, I was considerably better equipped. I love a good challenging boss fight, but I would have preferred a little bit more balance in regards to what items were being dropped. This said though, look, I'm still having a blast with the game. Visually it looks beautiful with a cel-shaded style that really stands out. Now I will admit here, I did notice a few frame rate drops on the PS5 Pro. Nothing challenging, nothing with an enemy, but more like transitioning from location to location. And then the trailer at the end of the demo promises more variety in the landscapes, because that would have been my one comment. It's just this icy location, but it looks like it's going to go far beyond that. Also, the enemies so far, wonderfully just grotesque. As for the music then, it's as, I guess, energetic as you'd hope, matching the intensity of the combat. Basically, what I'm saying is the First Berserker Khazan is a game you should be excited for, even with a few minor issues, ones that could easily be corrected, explained, or evolved in the final release. I'm having a blast. Combat is brutal, the violence is gory and over the top, cutscenes in the world are stunning, and the narrative has me hooked. Basically, I'm just really curious now to, learn more. An example of this, in fact, is at the very end of the demo, I discovered magic, something I haven't mentioned, the ability to throw these kind of magical spears, and that gave me even more of that kind of sense of progression you hope for in the genre, but it also left me with the question, where will this go next? I'm especially curious to see how the world design evolves. Will it stay level-based or, linear? Or will we find ourselves in a more traditional Souls-like structure with lots of backtracking? Only time will tell. What I do know, however, is that this is a day one buy for me personally, and if you enjoy the genre, you absolutely need to check out the demo. In fact, I don't think it can be missed. Alright, so that's my initial thoughts. If you played it, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. And once again, if you enjoyed this, do me a favour, subscribe, like, share, all that jazz. Helps out the channel a huge amount. And yeah, cheers all.